internet of bodies, collecting the physical data via a range of devices that can be implanted, swallowed, or worn. And all of this without our consent, we must say. This results in a huge amount of health-related data that could improve human well-being around the world and prove crucial in fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. So the pandemic was really the reset button for this biodigital convergence. So, but they are saying, hey, there are some risks about that, including privacy issues, of course. Here is the Shape the Future European Commission document that discusses that by 2050, a new form of a human called a transhuman will emerge, where they are fused with technology and have enhanced human intellectual, physical, and psychological capacities. And this is achieved through technological implants that will enhance memory and energy storage. So this is very real that the governments of the world have planned this. And in this document, it states that genetically enhanced human beings will be the majority in the world. And so with these implant techniques and creation of direct nerve connectors and bodies and sensors enhancing the implants, and they're saying it's common practice by 2050, but it has already happened without the consent of humanity. So they are saying that the visual implants will make the blind see, and the hearing implants will make the deaf hear. They will have better senses and biological capabilities, and that the intellectual abilities will also be enhanced. So we know about Elon Musk's Neuralink, but that's already outdated technology compared to what they've deployed already. And the enhancement option and the management of chronic disease will happen through nano devices and biocomputers that will, they say, provide life-extending treatment. I believe that they're being used as biological warfare weapons. They're stating that nanorobots will help diagnosis and treatment of diseases at any age, including pre-birth surgery, and they will be able to read from and write into your biology. So the robots can genetically modify any human being. Similar to nanorobots, the biocomputers will be inoculated. And inoculation means a vaccine. So into the human body to perform complex tasks, for instance, sensing and monitoring the status of organs, repairing tissues at a micro and a nano scale. But the problem with it is that this also means absolute control. So if the artificial intelligence supercomputer sees that your thought process is not what they want, or your biology is not what they want, or you're deplorable, they can stop your heart from inside your body, for example. So they're discussing that this convergence is the ongoing unification of nanotechnology, biotechnology, information technology, and cognitive science. It's brain hacking. So here you can see a networking of nanobiosensors for wireless communication in the blood. This has already been published in the public literature. A lot of this technology has been developed now since the 2000s through the IEEE International Engineering Society. And one of the leaders is Professor Ian Achildes from Georgetown University, and he discusses this, the Internet of Bio-Nano Things, and using the engineering of biologically embedded computing devices that are interacting with the biological cells and are changing how they're biochemically functioning. They have intra-body sensing and actuation network, meaning they are able to perceive the data, and actuation networks means that they can compute the data as well. And so they are now stating that this is a paradigm shift in communication and network engineering. And so this is a image of how this works, in which a biological cell has been hijacked by literally a technology that has an electromagnetic nanotransmitter within it, a biological nanosensor at the outside, and it can create electronic tattoos and engineered cells. So I just want to show you here an image by Clifford Carnicom. He was my research partner, and we did a lot of research together. I will show a little bit more about it, but what it shows is he was the one who discovered Morgellons and called it cross-domain bacteria. You see here in the urine, after a culture of microchip development within cells, and the same thing in red blood cells. This was from the Carnicom Institute. Lipid vesicle-based molecular robots are a reality, so they can create a lipid nanoparticles, and within it, through DNA, can be computations accomplished, and these are sensors that are attached to these lipid nanoparticles. And what it discusses is that this is a new molecular robot, which is used for higher functionality, that is also able to sense biomarkers, have signal communication within living cells, and conversion of energy, as well as it is the smallest computer on Earth. It acts on the nanoscale and can perform many computations per setting. So these can have multiple different structures. These bubbles that you see here can have multiple other nested, for example, nano robots in them, or can be tissue-like. And this right here is an image of the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID shot that I analyzed. And what you see here are the liposomes that develop within it, and inside of it are nanorobots, and I will show further images later. But these things are not a delivery mechanism of mRNA, as they're saying, because most of the teams worldwide didn't find mRNA, but they are a delivery system for nanotechnology. Here's the Moderna patent that discusses that gels and hydrogels are present within the COVID injection. So the mmRNA is being encapsulated by any hydrogel, which is then injected into the subject, which is the human being. Hydrogels are absorbent, they have a high degree of flexibility, and they are biocompatible, biodegradable, and porous. And what you see here, that self-assembled hydrogels are three-dimensional, and they can be cross-linking and create very complex structures, and they can be utilized in photovoltaics and optics. So what that means is they can sense through optical signals and through computation through photovoltaics. Hydrogels can build microchips, that is well known, and they can do so out of protein. So what you see here is documentation that the spike protein of the coronavirus, that's also has been used in all of the injections, at pH of 4 is creating amyloid. Amyloid is something that can cause Alzheimer's, dementia, and rubbery clots. But at a pH of 7, which is what human beings, that is their normal pH, it creates hydrogel. And so the peptides of the hydrogels can be used for slow-release systems, and it can be used for technology. MIT discussed that hydrogel is the brain-computer interface. Here you can see a schematic of the intracorporeal nano network. So you have neurons that are interfacing with the graphene in the shots, as well as what we're inhaling. They're creating these microchips, which we found are developing. And you have these hydrogel swimmers that contain the rubbery clots that are basically nano antennas that are then sending the information through the MAC address phenomena that you can detect from Bluetooth scanners to the cloud. And the biological information then is feeding information into the digital twin in the metaverse to be controlled by artificial intelligence. What is important is that 26 teams, independent scientists worldwide, many did not find mRNA. They didn't find phosphorus and nitrogen, which are building blocks of mRNA. So what the heck did they inject? They found very many metals. They found these hydrogels, DNA impurities, which we know that were cancer-causing. And there were many heavy metals like, cesium, radioactive cesium, antimony, which can cause congestive heart failure, silicon, aluminum, titanium. Titanium and aluminum are needed in polymer chemistry to give the start signal to self-assemble polymers. So gadolinium, it is a neurotoxic substance that's used for contrast MRIs. So many different metals, and these structures started to self-assemble. And graphene was also found. And this has now been published in international journals. So even though this information continues to be censored, Lorena de Blasi and my colleague Dr. Marcela Sangorin from the University of Namahagbu in Argentina, they found 55 undeclared chemical elements in all vaccines around the world. Doesn't matter if it's Sputnik or COVID or AstraZeneca. This is a global attack on humanity. And what they found, that if you see here, graphene oxide is fluorescent, and the same fluorescence was found in Pfizer Covilo injections. And it turns out that these 54 elements were very complex semiconductor technology metals that were used. For example, lanthanides, which are paramagnetic. You might remember the people who got the shots and who started to be magnetic. But the lanthanides are also, they're fluorescent, so they give off light signals that can be used for microrobotic photovoltaics. And then also they're used for the semiconductor nanotechnology. Even uranium has been found in the shots, which is also being sprayed via geoengineering. So this is a radioactive element that will accelerate the cancer production, which we're now seeing exploding. Cancer rates in the 40-year-olds have quadrupled since the rollout of the pandemic as part of the depopulation agenda. So Dr. Youngmi Lee from South Korea also documented 54 COVID-19 vaccine vials, and she found 3 to 4 million nanoparticles per milliliters of COVID injections, and she long-term incubated these over 2 years and clearly found that continued technology was there that was enhanced via Wi-Fi, 5G, EMF, that was decimating sperm counts and the human blood, and that also vaccinated men, for example, were still replicating this nanotechnology in their sperm 2 years after they got the shot. So here you see my analysis of the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID vials, and what you can see is there's millions of nano and micro robots. These are these blinking lights. This is exactly what Professor Ido Balanchet, who collaborated with Pfizer, discussed, that in one vaccine he could put 1,000 billion nano robots, and this is exactly what we found. So you see here higher magnification, about 2,000 times, and you see how the little blinking lights, so they are interacting through photovoltaics and photo optics, are building microchips, very elaborate microchips. And here you see different structures structures that they are building. And you see this bubble liposome-like structure within them. This is being self-assembled. And you see these long filaments that are also being assembled. So I left the drop of the Pfizer vial on the slide. And this is about 6 days later of what has assembled. And so then what I started to really be the whistleblower about is this phenomenon called shedding. So the Pfizer documents state that if an unvaccinated man inhales the air around a vaccinated woman, that man can transmit the vaccination to another unvaccinated woman. These are self-spreading biological weapons. They knew about the shedding. It's in the Pfizer document. So we started to see these filamental structures in unvaccinated blood. La Quinta Columna, which is a group from Spain, did a lot of research, and they heated up a drop of the COVID-19 vials, and these filamental structures very rapidly self-assembled. And at the same time in the United States, I was working with Clifford Carnicum from geoengineering, and he in 2014 was already documenting the growth of Morgellons, which is an advanced nanotechnology, synthetic biology that's been sprayed via geoengineering for decades now, and was the playground, really, the testing ground before this COVID-19 rollout. Same thing, these people would have microchips come out of their skin, and they were called delusional, but it was the exact same chemicals. So then we did a lot of experiments together. We took unvaccinated blood, and we just exposed it to a low-level electrical current for 2 hours. And the unvaccinated blood that looked normal developed into this filamental structure rubbery clot formation because the electricity enhances the self-assembly. We then used near-infrared spectroscopy to look at the chemical composition. And what we found was vinyl. Vinyl is polyvinyl alcohol, which is plastic. We find alkenes and polyenes. That's polyethylene glycol, the lipid nanoparticles that were used in the shot. We also found polyamides. Polyamides is nylon, spider silk, it is Kevlar, it is military-grade substances that cannot be degraded. We also found silicone and sulfur. So then what we did was we looked at vaccinated blood, unvaccinated blood, and we then compared it with this isolate of this, what he called cross-domain bacteria, and the chemical signatures matched. So hydrogel was found, polyene, polyethylene glycol, formalic alcohols, polyamides. And this was then later confirmed by Dr. Speicher, who in the COVID wilds found genetic material that was encoding dragline spider silk. Spider silk is a polyamide. It is used in military science for example, create armor for the U.S. Army. You cannot degrade this stuff. So then what we did was we did electrical conductivity studies on the human blood. And our blood is literally is a carrier for our life force. And so we found that the life force was decreased by up to 47%, the electrical conductivity. Imagine somebody's hijacking half of your life force. So this is the reason why we've been seeing an accelerated aging process with diseases of aging like total cancers, like strokes, heart attacks in young people very rapidly. And electrically, we are the battery for the technology. The only difference that we found between vaccinated and unvaccinated blood was this. We used an electromagnetic spectroscopy from 0 to 25,000 hertz, and at 4 hertz, the vaccinated blood was extremely sensitive. 4 hertz is a frequency that's used by HAARP, High Active Auroral Research Project. It's an electromagnetic ionospheric manipulation that's actually used for mind control and brain control. And 4 hertz is also the frequency that brainwaves of the subconscious mind use. So the people who are vaccinated are being externally influenced through extremely low electromagnetic frequency, and their subconscious mind is being programmed.